Words do damage. In our country, we may not be stoning people yet, but we are killing them with words. Judgments. Have you ever been stoned? Have you ever been through a stoning? Maybe family or friends or co-workers stabbed you in the back. Oh, come on, get real. Don't sit there all pious. Oh, come on, be real. You say, Pastor, I'm not sure that's Christian. It's Christian to tell the truth. This is a book that's real here. We don't have stuff that this isn't the mansy-pansy book here. This isn't tiptoe through the tulips Christianity. You read through the book of Acts, and man, these men and women of God, they were in the midst of battle, and stuff happened to them, and stuff happens to you and I today, even when you're doing things right. You see, that's the thing. We have been taught a theology today that says if we're really doing everything right, everybody's going to love us and like us and nurture us and care for us. That's a lie right out of straight of the pit of hell. Jesus went through some stuff and He looked at His disciples and He said, if they do it to me, they're going to do it to you. If I have enemies, you're going to have enemies. You need to learn to discern who those enemies are and where they're coming from so you can have a defense when you walk into them. Maybe divorce or wayward kids got you all beaten up. Maybe the rumor mill was released against you and the words were like stones that beat you relentlessly. Maybe you once served the Lord in a church or a ministry, but the stones, the scrutiny, the criticism, the fickleness of people put you on the ground. And now you wonder if you ever will even want to get back up. You see, it's easier to stay down than it is to get back up. It's quiet in here. Hallelujah. Used to quietness bothered me. Now I know I got you. Now I know the Holy Spirit's doing something. It's easier to stay down than it is to get back up. It's far easier to throw your hands up. You see, here's the deal. It's humiliating to be knocked down. And there's a sense of shame that comes flooding into your mind as the enemy seeks to keep you down. You have people standing around laughing, jeering, sneering, throwing stones with no thought, much less care of how much they're hurting you. Come on now. I don't care how strong you are when you're knocked down and you're hurting and there are people who are around that just keep throwing the stones and keep hurling the insults and keep abusing with the words and add fuel to the rumor mill. And I mean, it's like the old saying, kicking a person when they're down. That's what happened to Paul. And Paul, one of his analogies of the Christian life, one of his analogies was that of a prize fighter and a prize fight. Have you ever watched these prize fighters in the ring? Man, I remember back in the days when we had some real fighters. Frazier and Ali, and that's too old for you guys. Y'all don't know that stuff. I don't care how good a fighter you were. You did not want to get knocked down. And it was embarrassing. It was embarrassing when you took a good stiff right to the jaw and you hit the mat. Tell your neighbor, shake it off. Shake it off a little bit. You see, shame and feeling ashamed and feeling like a fool, that's what the devil does to you in situations like this. And it's not because you're not spiritual enough. It's not because you're not strong enough. It's because there's a victor inside of you who knows you're not supposed to be laying out flat, but yet there you are, failed in your marriage, failing with the kids, failing at work, failing in ministry, failing in church. And while the enemy has you down, he does not stop. He goes in for the kill. I don't know why Christians think that this thing is going to, this will lighten up soon without me doing something. The enemy's vicious. if He can knock you down and get you into that mentality and mindset that you're down, that you're out, that you're done, that you're through, then He can just drag you outside of whatever the situation is and snarl and laugh at you and leave you for dead. That's what's happened with the Apostle Paul. Sometimes it seems easier to just stay down once you've taken a hit. You're tired of fighting. You're tired of fickleness of people. You're tired of the seemingly relentless pursuit of the enemy dogging you everywhere you go and seeking to ruin every good thing that the Lord ever did through you. I don't think anybody could have blamed Paul if he had just decided to die right there. I wonder if when Paul's laying there, nobody could have blamed him if he'd have just said, Lord, I know when they stoned Stephen, you took him home. Lord, just take me on home. Just bring me home like you did Stephen. Yet it's right here in the midst of the pain and the shame that you have to decide who and what you're living for. That's a key question. Who are you living for? Why are you living? You've got to decide whether you're going to live for yourself or whether you're going to live for Jesus. Because you see, here's the deal. If you and I are just living for us, then there's a limit to how much we're willing to take for us. We can have some big hopes and some big dreams, and they can be about us. We're going to have the perfect marriage. We're going to have the perfect kids. We're going to have the perfect family. We're going to have the perfect job. We're going to have the perfect education. Everything's going to be hunky-dory. Everything's going to be wonderful. And you begin to pursue that, and then all hell breaks loose. And trust me, sooner or later, all hell will break loose. Remember what Jesus said about the two houses. Doesn't matter how you built, whether you built good or whether you didn't. The storm's coming. The force of the storm's coming. Life is about passing storms, even for the believer. The issue is not about whether you will face a storm or not. The issue is, will you prepare for the storm and what you will do in the midst of the storm, and will you come out of the house after the storm has passed? I'm going somewhere. And if you are living for you, and I've seen it happen to tons of folks, and I've seen the devil try to do it to Jill and I. If you are living for you, there will come that time that you will get knocked down so hard, the loss will be so great. Maybe it'll be a death. Maybe it'll be a divorce. Maybe it'll be a child go totally off the deep end. Maybe it's a bunch of friends that just completely turned their backs on you. Maybe you got stabbed in the back at work. Whatever it might be, but there comes that time to where you're out, you're fired, you're laid off. Whatever it is, you come to that point and you begin to believe all the junk the enemy's fed you. And sometimes it seems easier to just stay down. Well, I gave it my best shot. I guess I don't deserve any better. I guess I shouldn't have any more. I guess the Lord wasn't for me in that. And then I've seen people do it. I've seen them choose to live a life of mediocrity and settle for settling for less than what God has for them. Why? Because the truth of the matter is, it was about them rather than it was the Lord. Because you see, if it was for the Lord, if you're living for the Lord, I'm trying to take you a little bit deeper into what you built your life on. You see, you've got to dig through some dirt to get to the place where you can build the right foundation. And I heard Bishop Jake say the other night, I wouldn't dare preach it without giving him credit for this. I heard Bishop Jake the other day saying, most people are trying to build their lives on other people. So we dig down far enough to get the junk and the stuff out of our lives as best we can. But what we're doing is we're digging down to where we get a lot of good people around us, and we think if we can get a lot of good people around us, that we'll be good. The problem is everybody's flesh. Everybody's got some dirt. Nobody can be your God but God. And you cannot afford to build your life on anybody but the rock of Jesus Christ. Tell your neighbor, I got to dig a little deeper. You see, I want you to understand something. Until I dug down deeper to where my life, I made a conscious decision that my life was going to be centered on Christ. I didn't know how much I could love my wife. I didn't know how much I could love my children. I didn't know how much I could love my church. Why? Because when your foundation is on Jesus, when you're building the foundation off of the person of Christ, and He becomes literally the reason why you breathe. He becomes the reason why you work. He becomes the reason why you live, why you love. Then His strength begins to flow through you. His love begins to go through you. And when you get knocked down, you come to understand that you have to get back up. Because it is Christ in me, the hope of glory. It is, I am living for Jesus. And Jesus is not a quitter. It doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter whether you're with Joseph at the bottom of a pit or in a prison. It doesn't matter your situation. It doesn't matter if you're Jacob locked up in a tent wrestling with this big angel. It doesn't matter what's happened to you as such. The issue is if Jesus Christ is your life, then you can't quit. Because Jesus is not a quitter. And He has declared that you are more than a conqueror through Him. Now, I'm about to show you some stuff. I'm not going to keep you any longer necessary. I want to show you some stuff. You see, you've got to decide if there's a greater purpose for you to get back up and get on. Look at your neighbor, square in the eye, and say, "Get up." Tell them to get up, get up, get up. Get serious. Turn around and look at them. Tell them it's time to get up. It's time to get up. I don't know what it is you have fallen down into. I don't know what the devil has slapped you around with. I don't know what your situation is right now. I don't have to. All I know is that if you will choose to get up, get up, get up, that the Spirit of God will meet you at that place of your choosing. And it's not that God's cruel. I thought my grandfather was a bit cruel. That pony would throw me off. Sometimes he'd drag me. He'd drag me a little bit before. Granddad'd stop the pony and I'd reach up and get my foot out of the stirrup and he'd say, "Get up. Get on. Let's go." And I'd just have enough fight in me. I'd be mad at him, I'd be mad at the pony, and I'd be mad at myself because I went down. Sometimes a little godly anger is a good thing in your life and mine. Every once in a while we need to get mad at the enemy. We need to quit letting the shame and the guilt and all the junk that he tries to bring in on us in the midst of situations like that. And we need to look him right square in the eye and we need to say, "Get out of my way, because